Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming this early on Saturday after all the partying that some of you did. So, kind of historically, Near started as a layer one. We kind of originally really were trying to ourselves use blockchain for solving our own problem, and we kind of struggled with finding a platform and infrastructure that really would enable us to kind of build products that are mass user, that are easy to implement and maintain, and that actually can scale with the user base. And so that's how Near started, is how can we make a simple to use and build secure and scalable blockchain? And so this started in 2018 and kind of launched in 2020. And since then, kind of as the ecosystem grew, we continued providing more developer tools and platform to startups and companies that want to build in Web3. And so a lot of the focus in 2022 has been on building out kind of a rich set of tools and infrastructure above the blockchain. But as we kind of worked with startups and companies, we realized that even though, like for people who are building on Near, a lot of the things are already solved and they're actually like able to build really quickly, the challenge has been acquiring users, retaining them, making sure they're engaged, and as we kind of were figuring out how to start solving that problem, we have formulated this idea of what we call blockchain operating system. And so we just released it about a month ago, and kind of this is our next step toward the billion users goal we have to bring to Web3. So what is blockchain operating system? Really, it's an idea of how do we have a common layer for browsing and discovering open web experiences, Web3 experiences, and it's compatible with any blockchain, right? Why is this important? Because there are a set of problems that Web3 has that, if you're in Web3, you're familiar with, which is it's really hard to have discoverability. It's really hard to have kind of re-engagement of users, but also the multi-chain itself actually adds a lot of extra development costs, and it leads to a fragmentation, right? You have now user bases that are fragmented between different chains, and then within them have like additional fragmentation. So it's really hard to engage all of these users and really grow your user base. Now, Web 2 has a lot of challenges as well, right? So obviously the lack of data ownership and privacy, that's kind of why we working on Web 3 in the first place. But also, even with kind of standard applications, we have lots of censorship that Apple and Google are kind of in a way forced to do, and part of their business model is to do, as well as there is a lack of user retention kind of in a broader space. And there's a set of common challenges, like onboarding, that, if you're building a startup, even in Web 2, you probably have a massive team to just focus on onboarding users. And similar in Web 3, there's been a huge struggle to get users to onboard and start using applications. The distribution, right, getting in front of users, starting them to experience your application. Complexity to build for especially multiple platforms, right? If you're building for iOS, Android, web, you need to build 3 different apps usually, and you need to have 3 different teams. And so all of this, right, set of challenges that we're trying to kind of coalesce under this new paradigm of blockchain operating system. How does this work, right? So it's a kind of, blockchain operating system is not one thing. Similarly to regular operating systems, which are a kind of a platform that allows developers to build on, not need to think about the underlying hardware, kind of abstracting that out, and at the same time giving the distribution channel to the application developers that they don't need to really focus on, right? So if we're talking about iOS, for example, right, they have an app store, and so developers can install, can build the application, and users can install, and so the distribution is handled by Apple in a way. And developers don't need to think about the low-level details of the CPU, right, and how they're changing from version to version. That's handled by iOS as well. So similar idea here, but applied to a blockchain kind of broader software services. So on a bottom layer, we have blockchains, right, and smart contracts. And obviously Near, as Aurora and Octopus and other kind of various layers on top of Near. Similarly, Ethereum with layer 2s there, and also other blockchains. Now, the kind of idea of abstracting out all of this complexity really comes from so-called middleware, right? So we call it data platform, and this is where all the data aggregation, data kind of processing, as well as streaming, notification, search, and various other services go, right? They really try to kind of build a layer of layers that now you as a developer can just use and not think about the specific details of specific layer 1 or layer 2 that you use for handling the identities, the smart contract, the value. Important parts also here are really abstracting out the complexity of gas, submitting transactions, all of that details that usually you as a developer need to handle, and really giving you kind of very high-level instruments to do that. Now, the new layer we added, right, we call discovery. And discovery is this idea that we want to do what smart contracts did to kind of web services. We want to do that to front ends, right? We want to make them autonomous, composable. We want to make them, always accessible and kind of cryptographically secure. And so generally in front ends, if you kind of right now look in Web3, they run by a centralized server. They're maintained by a single company. They are kind of susceptible to various hacking risks, DNS injections, all kinds of things. And at the end, they're highly non-composable and highly kind of hard to maintain as well. And if we talk to various teams, especially in DeFi, right, they have a lot of challenges as well with kind of the fragility of this, as well as lack of other applications being able to hook into their smart contracts because they cannot just take and reuse their front-end code that continues to evolve, right? They need to kind of completely rebuild and maintain, let's say if you're a portfolio app that wants to introduce swap, you need to maintain your own pretty much application for that. So the idea of discovery is really to solve all that and then package it up in so-called gateways. So gateways is really where all of this comes together. The blockchains, the middleware, and the discovery, the front ends, really come together and surface it to the user. And it works with different wallets. It can be embedded into the wallet itself, and can be even browser or local app that actually runs all this locally. And I'll kind of show some of the examples. So at the core, what we're trying to do is actually turn around this issue right now, that if you're building Web3 application, you actually are trading off on distribution, right? You most probably have trouble with launching application in App Store. You have lack of kind of discovery of your application across various things. You can put it on like App Store or on DappRadar, on like few other places, but it's really hard for people to find it. And you are kind of having this fragmented user base. So like if you build on X chain, right, then the users of all other chains like have really trouble onboarding and using it. And so instead, we want to leverage decentralization and be the driver of distribution, right? So the more kind of different places, so-called install blockchain operating system in them, the more we have users who are actually accessing the common set of applications and services kind of in this space. And so because of this, like all of this is censorship resistant, anti-fragile, it works with all the chains, and it's really allows to discover applications and start using them without needing to kind of re-onboard, like create new wallets, figure out like if this application is secure, has it been launched by some malicious actor. So all of this really what we're trying to solve. So what is it for developers, right? We're at the hackathon here. Like, why do I care? Well, so important part actually is this is a faster developer environment. What it means is, like, if you're a developer and you want to build an application, and I'm not saying Web3, I'm saying generally any application, what we're aiming for here is that this is a faster developer environment than any other alternative, right? Important parts is because you have this existing kind of base of applications and so-called components for the front ends, as well as smart contracts for the back end, you can actually really quickly compose together new experiences. You don't need to kind of rebuild everything. You don't need to rebuild the scaffolding to kind of set up all the wallet. Like, I remember the first time I was trying to build on Ethereum, like just hooking up wallet and kind of getting all that started, like took a while, right? So all of this is solved, again, same on Web 2, right? Even with Auth0 and kind of other services, all of that takes time. Here, you don't need to kind of handle any of that. You have all the kind of, we have over 4,000 components at this point, from very common ones, right, to some esoteric ones. And you get right away usage, right? Because you can post it on the social feed and people can click on it and start using it right away. They don't need to relog in. They don't need to kind of rediscover and figure out if like they trust this website with their identity, etc. So all of this kind of really gives you faster developer environment, and you can kind of quicker go to the user. For kind of enterprises, companies, what this allows to do is if you already have existing application or a property, right, website, you can actually embed all this directly into this app, right? So because kind of all of this, the gateway idea is kind of very easily composed into existing websites with just a few lines of JavaScript, you can actually embed the whole kind of rich Web3 experience without really needing to kind of design all that from scratch. And it allows you to really easy onboard new users, like your users into Web3, right? They will not even see that they have crypto accounts initially. And it allows to start surfacing lots of different experiences. So if you, for example, a luxury brand, you can surface a secondary market for your items, and like people will just use that as if it was under your brand inside your website, but actually they're using an NFT marketplace underneath that they're using with their crypto account, but they don't see that and kind of start interacting with that. It is way easier to build and maintain, right? Like again, all of the components and the services, right, are provided by blockchain operating system, and you're really just filling in your kind of design and your kind of minimal logic that you want to hook in with your specific business. And finally, you can access any of the existing user bases and existing kind of economy that blockchain has. Finally, for individuals, the important part here, right, at the end, we're trying to build Web3 kind of user-focused internet, is that you now have kind of this ability to, wherever you go, you always own your data. You bring your experience to any of these places, right? And again, like if we go back to this luxury brand, for example, they embedded it. If you already have an account somewhere else, you can just log in with that account and start already using even this luxury brand marketplace, but with all of the data and assets that you have. And so that's really kind of powerful. And like if you have social features, for example, your profile comes with that. So instead of this idea that like, Facebook owns your data, Twitter owns your data, and they kind of have it in their own places, now the data is owned by you, and wherever you go, whichever application you use, like the kind of your data, your social graph, your assets are coming with you. The discovery of applications, kind of the interactions with them, the kind of like the security that that this application will not try to rug pull you, all of that comes in as well with this platform. And finally, this kind of universal social interactions as well is extremely powerful. We call this community commerce, and really kind of allowing people to connect, collaborate, manage assets, create kind of commercial relationship, create collectives that are together creating value. All of this is kind of really coming together in this. Now, the most important thing, all of this is live. Obviously, there's still a lot of work to do, but we have all this running, and I'll kind of show you a basic demo, like kind of walk you through some of the things we have. But before that, one of the most important things we've been focusing on is how to improve the onboarding. We've been trying to do this from kind of day one. We've tried a bunch of things. And one kind of the thing we launched last month, we call Fast Auth. So this allows to use on-chip cryptography that exists on every device now to really with Face ID or fingerprint or PIN to create kind of the cryptography for the blockchain account without user needing to go through seed phrases and all this complexity. And then there's multi-party computation, so the kind of way to do setup email recovery, and then you can also have other ways to recover your accounts over time. And so all of this really allows to have like almost, it takes about 5 seconds. You don't see any crypto kind of jargon or any crypto like 0x, ... things. You don't need to set up seed phrases and save it. And usually people just screenshot it into their photos. Like none of that is just a kind of faster than regular because you don't have password here. You just enter the email. You can get an account ID and confirm the email, and you have an account. And we have meta transactions and other services to kind of allow you to interact with the blockchain without needing to kind of fund it with NEAR or other tokens initially. So we kind of have like this freemium model where you can start interacting with services without needing to pay day one, where you don't even know why the hell you're like buying all this crypto yet. Now, worth mentioning, there's also other tools like Keepon that allows to onboard people with links and kind of give some of the similar experiences. There's trial accounts, which allow people to kind of have limited for example, limited to specific apps way to start using them without, again, needing to pay for anything. So there's like lots of tooling that's available for developers now to really onboard users really quickly. So let's see how it looks, right? So I'm not going to go through onboarding per se, but I'm already logged in. And so when you do kind of come in to near.org now, and maybe I'll show near.org incognito mode first. So this is kind of what you see. And the cool thing about this, everything you see is coming from the blockchain. So this is first blockchain website that's powered by blockchain. And you can actually create accounts and do all the blockchain things on the website versus going and like using some external wallet and figuring out what the hell is going on, right? So, and when I say it's coming from blockchain, if you go to develop mode tab, you can actually open up the details of the current page and see the source code of the page itself. So you can actually see how this page implemented. The source code coming from the blockchain, like the actual source code is stored on Near, and you can see the kind of commit history, the changes to the code directly here as well. And so that it's almost similar to GitHub, but it's powered by blockchain. You have kind of cryptographic identity. You can ensure that it's built, for example, in this case, it's a homepage for near.org, so it's built by Near. But you can see kind of who it's built. You can have discussions about it. You can, over time, pull requests and other functionalities come in there as well. So this is kind of really allowing you to discover kind of how things are built, and then you can always go and navigate and see which other components it uses. So when I'm talking about composability, again, what smart contracts did, right, is like it's really easy to start calling other smart contracts and kind of depend on them because they will be there, right? They will not disappear. They will not, go down. Similar here, because everything is stored on blockchain, you can actually depend on other components really easily. And as you depend on them, right, so for example, somebody built an image functionality, and image functionality includes in itself the NFT image or IPFS or Arweave or number of other services, right? So it kind of handles all of this complexity of rendering an image, which can be NFT or something, and you don't now need to re-implement that, right? And you can depend on it, and you can, bind a version or continue actually getting updates as it evolves. And so this is kind of allows you to really quickly build new experiences. And I'll show kind of how this looks in practice. Now, I mentioned the important part is, I think the discovery, the interactions especially like we less and less use app stores, and we more and more actually discover through social feeds, through interactions with friends, through actually figuring out what other people are using. And so that's why, and also like, obviously, as blockchain community, the fact that we're using Twitter, Discord, and Telegram, 3 very centralized services for all of our communities, also seems very suboptimal. So here we have actually we call it Near Social. It's one of the applications on top of the boss, and it allows to actually have all of the kind of social interactions as well, cryptographically secure, owned by the user, and kind of powers the homepage when you logged in as you're going, right? So you have people following activity, etc. The interesting thing here, this is also kind of because it's cryptographically signed for every message. As we're going into this AI world where things more and more will be generated, this also ensures that you actually know who generated what content as they signed on it, and you can actually kind of have the provenance and supply chain of data, which I think will become more and more important in the future. So now from there, you can go and see what other applications exist, right? So there's kind of over 140 applications already, and it actually spans everything from DeFi, news, media, developer kind of communities, NFTs, etc. Right? There's also a bunch of stuff for Ethereum and EVMs and layer 2s, which Matt and MJ were showing yesterday. So I will not go too deep into that, but kind of just as an example, to also show the search, you can search for like something like Lido, and there's I think the app that shows you all the Ethereum apps, but you can open an application like this and kind of interact with it directly from near.org. So you can use applications of different blockchains directly on near.org because it kind of renders users and kind of abstracts out the complexity of these blockchain interactions. Now, I mentioned the gateway concept, right? So we are near.org. It's one of the gateways. It's kind of designed to feature what Near kind of blockchain operating system providing, but you can actually either build your own or launch a kind of a customized experience, right? So one that's kind of maintained by third party is called boss.gg, and it's really designed to kind of showcase some of the more Ethereum experiences. And so this is, for example, a ZK sync, right, page, which allows you to bridge and to swap directly on this page. And it exactly works the same way. You can go and actually, look at the source code, fork it, start interacting with it, and building on it. So when I say fork it, right, so I mentioned like if you're looking at something, you can always view details, and you can fork. And so you can open up and actually see the source code and kind of render the preview. And so just to show you an example, I was kind of playing around before the talk. So let's say you have the social feed, right? And you're like, hey, I really like the social feed, but I think it's kind of not very informative. I don't know who these people are. So let's insert a widget that actually provides us more information about this user. So it's like profile page sidebar. And so as we add it, right, like you re-render, and you can see the post and the information about it, and how many followers they have, et cetera, directly here. So the idea is like you can really quickly kind of iterate and see kind of, as you code what you're building, and navigate different components and pull them in as you're building. So this is all cool, but if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a hacker that's really interested in building something, like kind of let me tell you a little bit of like the holistic picture, right? So imagine we have a hacker that at the hackathon and really wants to build a new Web3 fitness project. Well, so they want to build a gym membership, and they want to kind of have individual and group experiences, and they want to use Web3 to really engage and create kind of loyalty and motivation for people. So there's 4 steps to build a new product. The first one is to test a hypothesis, right? I mean, at the end, the idea is just a hypothesis that this is something people want. And so you want the quickest way to get to, like, is this working or not? And so your kind of key KPI, right, is speed of learning, how fast you can actually put this in front of users and get some feedback and actually iterate. And so the cool thing here is exactly this, is that because you have all the services, you have all the scaffolding, you have already a platform where users are, you can actually really quickly go from few different pieces of existing applications, pull them together, and build your app, right? So let's say this fictional hacker, Idris, has set up a profile. They looked for some NFT marketplace. They found Mintbase. They found they have this cool photo sharing app, Minsta, that they can actually fork and leverage for their own minting NFTs from after you attended the gym, and actually kind of to commemorate your attendance. And so they forked this, modified it, and boom, they have, as you finish your workout, you take a picture, it mints an NFT, and it's just a component and like serves that as a badge of your enablement, and it's just a component inside the kind of existing blockchain operating system, but you can navigate it through near.org. So you can start sending this to people and kind of get people to start interacting. So the idea here is really like quickly interacting, prototyping, finding existing pieces, pulling them together, and it's all JavaScript, including like if you do need to add more smart contracts, Near supports JavaScript. The middleware aggregation data called Query API also launching with support of JavaScript. So you can actually do now full end-to-end JavaScript applications and really simple developer environment, right? You can do a lot of things just directly in the browser. There's also VS Code extension. So now that you built kind of prototype, you want to see if people are really interested in like are converting. And so you want to get to few customers or user like super fans that actually love what you're doing. And so kind of the cool thing about this is like as people starting to find your app, let's say through various means, they can also start discussing and kind of commenting directly on the app itself, right? And so you can have those discussions there. You can use KeyPom, you can use kind of various tools now to onboard new users, right? So you can actually get share links that convert people directly into your app and start interacting with it. You can have, if you have an email newsletter, you can leverage that to actually send everyone a KeyPom. And so you can have all those things kind of really gaining traction and seeing how this works. And as users sign up, they just need to enter an email and kind of set up an account. As well as, because it's all part of the system, right, all the other platforms that exist that have blockchain operating system installed will kind of surface your application, right? So Near.org being one, but also Boss.gg, Near Social, et cetera, et cetera. Like there's already 5 or 6 kind of gateways. They all will surface your app if people search for fit, or if maybe you have some interactive social experience, and as people kind of comment and publish about it on the social feed, right, people can navigate from there directly to your app without needing to go through like another website, log in, and start doing this before you are ready for that. So built-in feedback loop, you have kind of really easy onboarding for people who are not in crypto. They don't need to have crypto to start using this. They can mint NFTs or interact with your app, start getting your loyalty points without needing to have transact like Near or Ethereum or whatever for transaction fees. And it's easy discoverability across the stack. Finally, you want to retain the customers, right, and users. And this is one of the biggest Web3 challenges. Right now, because of this wallet kind of experience, if you're building an application, you have no idea who your users are. Like people just come in, connect with your wallet, interact with the smart contract, and even if you have Google Analytics, you have no idea what's going on. So here, the important part is like how to re-engage, right? How to create subscriptions, how to get notifications, how to create a captive audience that you can interact with. And so there are a few things. One is continue building in more social features so you can actually engage your users. But the other important part is notifications, right? So there's a kind of infrastructure for notifications that works both, kind of with apps it's easier, but importantly it works with mobile web, which is a recent development on iOS side. And so it allows to start actually an application to push notifications to the user who subscribed to it. And so that's really powerful because it enables you to have like, hey, we have an update, or we have a new event, or we have a new like competition running where you can win something. So you can have like marketing campaigns, you can have engagement, you can have kind of updates all in one, and works directly with all of this Web3 infrastructure and users in control of what they're receiving. You can also then go and deploy your own gateway, right? So, this all was like still serving through Near.org, through Boss.gg, through all these places. But at some point, it's like, hey, I actually want my own website. I want to customize some of the how it looks on a high level. So you can really quickly deploy it. It's actually 2 minutes, and to set it up, and boom, you have your own website, right? And you can customize the logo and kind of all of the experiences on top. So foster community, more ways to re-engage users, and kind of full customizability, as well as kind of for the overall look as well. Finally, you want to grow, right? So you want to get more users across different communities. You want to expand to other experiences, and you want to grow to other geographies. And so really cool things you can do is actually start interacting with other communities. For example, there's sports NFTs that exist on other chains. You can actually leverage that to and have a campaign around like, hey, if you have this NFT, you could get like a discount or whatever as you're interacting with your app. Right, so this allows to kind of start linking in with other communities and onboarding them. You can work with other existing apps that actually can drive traffic to you, right? So Sweatcoin is a great example. They have millions of users that are actually engaged and looking for more ways to engage with the ecosystem, and it's also very matching audience because they're into fitness, and so you can actually like market to them, give them a discount, and again, we launched One-Click Connect, which allows to directly from the app be logged in. Like as you open your app, you already logged in, and you don't need to go through this process of kind of creating a new wallet or connecting to a wallet and figuring out that Sweat is actually a wallet and do all this complexity, right? And finally, with geography is the really cool thing of this gateway is you can actually start internationalizing them. You can have other people translate it and kind of fork your component and translate it to other languages, and you can actually kind of surface that on your side, or people find them through kind of language-specific gateways. And I think like this actually will continue evolving, and we'll have more internationalization support in this. So scale your project, work with any chain, right, with any community, with any other kind of Web3 interaction, extend to any experience, link to other existing Web3 apps, and reuse and kind of fork and really open up the economy on top of it. So kind of this is what we call community commerce. It's it's a social interactions, it's digital value, it's kind of really active participation coming together in this blockchain operating system, and allows you to go from hypothesis to kind of prototype to engagement to market expansion in a really easy way and really build your application quickly. And just to mention, like if you are doing this and you are building a startup, one of the apps that actually is already launched there, it's called Near Horizon, and it's really to accelerate your Web3 startup. So it comes with a lot of tools, and there's VCs as well as marketing agencies, legal agencies, all kinds of resources for Web3 startups to really grow and expand from there. And so it kind of serves as like an accelerator platform. They also work with Outlier Ventures and a few other actual accelerators underneath. So Near started as blockchain, and kind of through the time has been continuously evolving, right? Now it's not just a blockchain, it has data platform, multi-chain interoperability, social graph, composable frontends, all of these pieces kind of coming together. And that's why we're calling it blockchain operating system. So I'll just finish on, there's Boss Bounty and kind of Near Protocol bounties. Check them out if you're hacking, and good luck.